The Rancher server, or the Rancher management cluster, is made up of the API server, an authentication proxy, and one cluster controller for each cluster that it manages. It uses etcd for its data store, and if you have a backup of that data, you can actually rebuild the server in any other environment and have it work.
That makes the etcd data store the most important part, and it also means that if you deploy Rancher into a Kubernetes cluster that is HA, Rancher is also HA.
What does HA stand for?
HA means highly available. When something is highly available, it doesn't have a single point of failure. When Kubernetes is HA, it has at least 3 nodes running etcd components and 2 nodes running control plane components. As long as etcd has the majority of its nodes running, the cluster is fine. As long as there is one control plane component online, the cluster is fine. When Rancher is deployed into an RKE cluster, that cluster is known as the Rancher management cluster. It's dedicated to running the Rancher server components.
Downstream clusters managed by Rancher run a cluster agent. That agent bridges between the cluster controller and the Kubernetes API server that's running inside of the cluster. Downstream clusters also run a node agent on every node in the cluster, and that handles node-specific activities.
Rancher can manage any CNCF-certified Kubernetes distribution, including cloud-hosted offerings such as GKE, EKS, and AKS, or clusters built with tools such as KOps or kubeadm.
Is it KOps or is it COPS?
Oh, I don't know.
I always like saying COPS building clusters because I just think that's super cool.
This sounds better.
You imagine like NYPD out there being like, "Rrr." Okay. There's some advanced functionality that's available in Rancher for RKE clusters. These are things that exist outside of the scope of the Kubernetes API, like certificate rotation, etcd backup and restore, and automatically healing or replacing failed nodes. Rancher can do that with RKE clusters because it built them, and so it can see everything about them.
We'll talk more about that later, but for now, let's talk about the microservices and how they communicate with one another.